of pig-style assault on Guantanamo Bay but were repelled by white hats who had fortified the island's stronghold in anticipation of a deep state strike, sources at GITMO and in general. Berger's office told Real Raw News. As the sun set and twilight filled the sky, Air Traffic Controllers (ATC) at Leeward Point Airfield made intermittent primary radar contact with an unknown aircraft 20 miles due south of the naval station. The bogey appeared, disappeared, and reappeared, and was not transmitting mode C, meaning it had an inactive or disabled transponder, an electronic device that produces a response when it receives a radio frequency interrogation. Aircraft have transponders to assist in identifying them on air traffic control radar. Air traffic control units use the term squawk when they are assigning an aircraft a transponder code, e.g., squawk 7421. ATC broadcasted on military and general aviation frequencies, asking the bogey to enable its transponder and identify itself, for it was approaching restricted airspace. One controller made a joke, saying Santa's sleigh was making a GITMO pit stop, but his joviality faded when the contact split into two, then three, individual contacts. ATC received no digital or audio response to their queries. The contacts flew too slowly to be military jets or commercial aircraft. Helicopters were attempting to evade radar by flying low on the horizon. ATC sounded the alarm and sirens wailed throughout the base. Elsewhere, spotters on the southern beachhead saw 3 mechanized assault craft, each holding an unknown number of troops, speeding toward them. At the bow of each craft were twin .50 caliber machine guns. Their presence meant a mothership, most likely an amphibious assault ship, 840-foot behemoths capable of carrying 2,500 men and a tremendous payload, loomed somewhere in the distance unseen. By then GITMO's deputy commanding officer, Lieutenant General Andrew A. Croft, had learned of the impending invasion. He and what senior staff remained on base for the Christmas holiday retreated to an impregnable command and control center and planned a counterstrike. 4,500 battle-hardened Marines took their posts, prepared for the onslaught. Also on base, on loan from U.S. Army White Hats, were 2 Manpads platoons armed with Stinger surface-to-air shoulder-fired missiles. They were told to prepare to engage 3 CH-53C Stallions, now only a few miles from the base, perhaps with orders to strafe GITMO or land troops on White Hat territory. The lead Sea Stallion, still over water, was hit twice and exploded in a crimson fireball. Mangled metal and blown to bits bodies fell into the sea. A third missile hit the second chopper, striking near the exhaust and causing the rotor mast to separate from the airframe. It plunged into waters south of Guantanamo Bay. The third Sea Stallion got below and inside the Stinger's engagement envelope. A door gunner opened fire and hit 4 Marines and Manpad's crew members who were seeking cover while engaging the helicopter with small arms fire. Bullets riddled their bodies, and they fell down dead. When the bird tried to extend to make another pass, 2 Marine squads peppered it with rounds from their rifles and squad automatic weapons. The door gunner slumped forward and tumbled from the chopper as plumes of black smoke poured from the engine. It hit the ground intact. Meanwhile, Marine platoons pinned down mechanized landing craft trying to land troops beside McCall Field, the base's defunct airstrip, firing from behind steel barriers, rock walls, and sand berms. 2 valiant Marines sacrificed themselves by rushing forward and lobbing grenades into one of the craft. They were cut down, but the grenades hit their mark. All gunfire emanating from the craft instantly ceased amid cries for help and the wailing sounds of death. The remaining craft reversed engines and began to retreat. The general in command ordered all forces to cease fire, saying enough blood had been spilled. As the smoke cleared, AV-22 Osprey lifted off from Leeward Point Airfield with orders to locate whatever vessel had deployed the mechanized landing craft. The pilots spotted their target, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship heading southeast toward the coast of Venezuela. They put out warning on military frequencies, enemy warship, you are warned to egress the vicinity. We have 2, I repeat 2, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers at our disposal that will arrive in several hours, and return to base after loitering near the vessel for 30 minutes. A GITMO source Monday told Real Raw News that despite the loss of life, the base's forces performed admirably and were successful in repelling an armed incursion. I think they hoped to catch us sleeping, since it was Christmas. That our bellies would be full and we'd be languishing around. Well, they were wrong. Our fortifications held. GITMO has spent months fortifying itself for an expected attack, personnel began bolstering defenses and increasing manpower after the feds illegally occupied President Donald J. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. They made other improvements in early December, following an ultimatum from the regime's defense secretary demanding that White Hat officers surrender to him by December 22. The source said, some enemy forces survived the third chopper crash and have been taken prisoner. Their wounds got treated. They'll be held as prisoners of war, enemy combatants. We don't yet have a tally on their dead. If the other Sea Stallions were loaded to capacity, there could have been 55 troops on each. Right now, we can say 47 dead, including the disabled ship. We lost 7 men, with 14 wounded. Overall, we were hugely successful, he said, a source in general. David H. Berger's office, however, had a different take. He said General Berger, having reviewed the after-action report, called the White Hats' efforts an abject failure. The amphibious assault ship, the general said, should have been detected visually and on radar long before helicopters left its flight deck and landing craft emerged from its well deck. The loss of a single Marine was unacceptable. As an aside, GITMO ought to review its defensibility, as a massive naval bombardment would obliterate it in minutes. The station's personnel have only 2 means of escape, either by sea or fleeing north over the wall into Cuba, which could incite an international incident.